Warrior, we're exploring a reality today. Every high-value man has to deal with harmful behaviors that cause women to disrespect you. This is not a lighthearted subject. It is essential to watch, particularly if you are in order to develop into the type of man who demands respect from more than simply others. But most all, from yourself, if Marcus, you know about the Stoics. You are aware that Aurelius Seneca Epicus didn't use wealth to gain respect or status, which they obtained by honing their integrity by remaining steadfast in their principles and by getting rid of any behaviors that undermine them, which is precisely what we're performing. These behaviors here today may seem tiny, even innocuous, but trust me when I say that they silently working, weakening your self-assurance and reducing the respect that a high-value individual like you deserves. You should have unshakable character. Your routines are sound and deliberate. The video serves as a wake-up call as well as a lesson. If you're prepared to find out what may be preventing you from getting rid of, then rid yourself of these unseen poisons. Remain with me through to the end, as each of these behaviors is impeding your let's shatter the way to respect and strength. Via them combined absence of insufficient self-belief, confidence is the cornerstone of every valuable individual, not just a talent, but a mode of existence. Like walking steadily while gazing into a room. Look straight ahead. Believe me, ladies. Sense that energy right away. Recognizing your value without speaking, spoken with a lack of confidence, which is similar to displaying a neon "I'm unsure" sign of myself, and respect is never diminished. Faster self-assurance isn't conceit. Rather, it's silent power, similar to Marcus's. When Aurelius governed Rome, he held conviction without any proof at all. The truth is that he lacks confidence, something you possess from birth. It's something you construct moment by moment through self-control and action. Consider when you stood your ground, achieved an objective, or confronted a fear. Those instances provide the basis of genuine, a high-value man attracts confidence. Internal strength, similar to the Stoic Epicus, a philosopher, taught that he doesn't need confirmation, that he is rooted in his ideals and beliefs, such as a vessel that remains stable no matter how difficult the. Without this inner self-assurance, a guy tries to win over everyone around him. Female co-workers, friends, and ultimately revealing his influence. And let's be clear, women are unable to appreciate men who don't. Respecting oneself and having confidence entails being at ease with your ignorance, having the courage to mature, and rising again when you've lost your self-confidence. Naturally gains respect because are you a sincere and dependable warrior? Gaining this level of self-assurance or, to be respected, one must allow uncertainty to sneak in. You must first be respected by others. You yourself inadequate personal care. Incredibly bad hygiene. Let's be honest, hygiene is a powerful indicator of respect. You keep a man who neglects you for yourself. His looks, his personal hygiene, or even his scent makes it obvious that he's not. Believe me, he's taking himself seriously. High-value men never allow their cleanliness to suffer. Slide since he is aware that it reflects women that are disciplined and respect themselves are sensitive to this, and they perceive cleanliness as an indicator of a man's general standards. A lack of attention to this can quickly transform respect into ignore the reason. Because if a man is unable to put in the fundamental endeavor to attend to, how can we trust him to care about himself? For anyone else who keeps up their personal hygiene is discipline, not vanity, when we take a shower, groom, and dress carefully. Displaying the world in which we live, as Epicus once stated, to a higher quality. Know yourself first, then dress appropriately, or, to put it another way, when a man appreciates himself, he displays it. Women value his attractiveness. A man who is aware of these particulars as evidence that he cherishes his body, his presence, and the impact he makes. This does not entail working for hours in front of a mirror. It signifies honoring. You should be clean enough to look and smell good. Well-groomed and prepared for the world beyond appearances. Hygiene is also regarding a man's regimen and self-control. Who takes care of himself, develops routines, such as routine grooming, wearing nice clothes, and maintaining the cleanliness of his surroundings and self-control in minor facets of life, inevitably results in discipline in bigger ones. If a man is incapable of adhering to basic cleanliness, how can he dedicate himself to the most? Women are aware of the goals he sets for himself, naturally, and have a much higher chance of admire a man who prioritizes his own well-being. And appearance, the idea is that if you are unable to, how can you expect to take care of yourself? Having someone else take care of hygiene is a tiny but strong indication of one's value if you are creating a high for yourself. Value man made cleanliness a daily priority. Develop a dedication to honoring your body and putting on an honorable front. People notice when you do this, and there will be respect. Behavior that is inherently disrespectful. Inconsiderate conduct is more than simply something you give to other people. It is an expression of your personal personality. When a man acts disrespectfully, regardless if by disparaging and contemptuous remarks, behaviors, or a lack of compassion, that he displays a serious weakness in his personality that, no, believe me, charm can hide a lot. Women see this as a high right away. Value man never uses rudeness, as he is aware that it is a betrayal of his respect for one's own standards, is not a tool. For a high-value man, it's a value one. Lives with female friends, and even those who extend their respect are respected by strangers. Respect without exception. Conversely, a disrespectful man continuously tries to gain control by placing people who are down need to feel superior. For all others, this is an indication of look at the insecurity rather than the strength. The lives of Stoic thinkers such as Seneca, who advocated for a man to become a master first before he can guide others to the truth. Self-control and empathy are the sources of strength, and the self-control to treat everyone a man who lacks the courtesy to respect others merely demonstrate his own deficiency in incapacity, and that type of vulnerability will never bring respect. Constantly drive it away. Closer when you treat them disrespectfully. In particular, a woman you reveal yourself to, insecurity and a lack of control. Conversely, polite conduct demonstrates strength, empathy, and discipline. Respect serves both a basis and a guide, principle that determines how you treat every conversation, no matter how big or small. If you find yourself demeaning other people, ignoring their viewpoints, or having to be correct at all costs, take a moment to reflect. Why do I frequently act disrespectfully? A cover for unresolved fears, but a high-value individual has his own shortcomings, instead than imposing them on other people. Let's clarify one issue. Being respectful is not a sign of weakness, doesn't diminish you. Rather, it's an indication of a high-value man with power and maturity, able to disagree without being offensive, stern, without being disparaging, and able to listen. Not to belittle it, this is the type of strength that fosters enduring respect. And the gentle women greatly respect and admire enough of yourself to be kind to others. And you'll discover that respect returns to you. Tenfold clinginess and neediness. Clinginess and neediness are highly valued. Man is aware of the significance of being independent, but understanding that real strength. Dependency on self-sufficiency is the strongest deterrent, an indication that you're searching for something else. Approval, affirmation, or even a feeling of identity. Trust me, when a man turns into clinging or too dependent on another person, he gives up his power for happiness. Women are more acutely aware of this. Most significantly, lose respect because neediness is an indication of insecurity, and a lack of dependency and self-control are highly valued. Man builds himself instead of chasing, so people are drawn to him because of his inherent charm. Being needy involves more than just yearning. It's all about feeling someone's attention. Philosophers who are Stoic without it, such as Epicus taught, genuine bliss is ingrained in us. If we're continuously looking for somebody to cover the gaps, we've lost command of our own tranquility. When you cling to someone because you're afraid of losing them, you're demonstrating to them that you don't feel complete alone and comprehend this. Women value stability and strength the most. The instant you begin to clutch to checking in or seeking confirmation, you start to rely on others, and that reliance undermines any potential respect she may have had. A high-value man doesn't impose his value on you. Emotional stability in another person's hands instead, he is motivated by his goal. His objectives and values towards women are innately drawn to this self-assurance, as it is uncommon for a man to has his own guidance and doesn't require to define him or bring him someone else approval in a world where there are true anxieties and distractions. Independence is like a lighthouse. If you want respect, you have to first recognize and honor your personal time and space. Accept solitude, set goals, and make your presence a decision rather than a need. To put it plainly, independence isn't being whole on your own is what isolation is about. Personal in order for relationships to improve instead of giving life a high value, man values relationships, but never at the price of needing his own value. Constant comfort is an indication that you not yet acquired that inner power. When a woman perceives your ability to be content, focused, and joyful, without her unwavering admiration and regard for you. As she looks closer, she notices a man with his own life, motivated by his own mission, and she will inevitably desire to be a component of lying, being unfaithful, and being dishonest. Being unfaithful and lying. A man's word is his essence and his bond. When you are dishonest, when you lie or being unfaithful, you're eroding it is a sign of weakness to fool one's own honor. It's an acknowledgement that you don't have the bravery to uphold the great value of truth. Men don't have to be deceitful. When they are aware that integrity, women can sense that it is not negotiable. Dishonesty, and they will lose as a result. Respect more quickly than you might think. She'll see that you're prepared to compromise your principles because you don't have the backbone to truly consider. Marcus Aurelius was a ruler who used a dedication to integrity and truth. He once wrote, "Do not do it if it is not right. Don't say that since it's untrue." Realize that being genuine is a representation of inner fortitude and knowledge. A man with great values doesn't lie to avoid repercussions, but instead he has to anything that is honorable, because he understands that being sincere is the basis of any genuine relationship is, because being disloyal doesn't simply end trust, it demonstrates a lack of self-control. It indicates that your impulses are in control of you. Women respect men more than they do principles, who maintain their composure and hold themselves responsible even under challenging situations. You're showing her that you're dishonest that you are untrustworthy and incapable of dependable to keep your word, or once confidence is lost, acts are almost unrecoverable, and without it, respect has been lost as well, isn't it? Simply about severing a connection with her, it's about compromising your own value. You are demonstrating that your behavior doesn't conform to the values you're prepared to sacrifice. Short-term wants for men don't require your integrity, which is highly valued. Confirmation of their dishonest behavior, they remain faithful to their promises and to themselves. As they are aware of that, honor is vital to have a man who respects enough of himself to live with honesty. Integrity in persons who are honest will understand that they can trust you, ladies, will recognize that you are a man who supports his values, a man who possesses the fortitude to stay true and faithful. Keep in mind that warrior respect must be earned by having the guts to live genuinely, aggression and rage. Let's talk about hostility and rage. Warriors rage and wrath now. When left unchecked, these two feelings are strong forces that will soon result in women will no longer respect you at all. Value man is aware of that real power, is in charge of their emotions when you let. Using your rage to control your behavior, you display a lack of women's self-mastery. Right away, I assure you that they are not drawn to this. To a man who acts out of anger or aggressively, which isn't indicative of power, it's an indication of insecurity. A man's emotions are out of control, gets feeble in the presence of others. His frustration is generally the source of his fury, or a wounded pride, but the Stoics like Epicus recognize that it isn't the incident that sets us off, but our reading of it. A man with emotional intelligence is able to halt and contemplate and react intelligently rather than striking out and behaving rashly in response to anger, demonstrates a lack of self-control. And that is not something that women value. The one with the most value is the one who stays serene and collected despite the heat of the moment. You allow rage to control you. You cede control instead of power. It and people will perceive you as a leader. His personal music, constantly grumbling, constant feelings whining, Let's discuss the risk. Frequent persistent whining is an indication of frailty and erodes those people's respect. A high-value man doesn't surround you, wasting his time and energy whining. Focuses on solutions grievances regarding the difficulties in life simply demonstrate that you feel helpless to alter them. It's simple. To develop the tendency to vent, although comprehend this ongoing whining diminishes your power and alienates. Like everyone else, other ladies will lose regard for a man who's consistently unhappy or preoccupied with the issues instead of what Marcus can accomplish. Among the greatest Stoics was Aurelius. Roman emperors and philosophers offers a compelling illustration of how to confront the challenges of life during his wars and plagues plagued reign Marcus. Personal grief and political intrigue, but rather than griping or being engulfed. Out of exasperation, he gave careful thought to these difficulties and utilized them as chances for him to develop in his meditations. He penned the obstacle to action. What is preventing progress in action becomes the path when confronted with problems that appear insurmountable. Marcus resisted the temptation to, instead of complaining, he questioned how. How can this challenge help me become stronger? Can I take anything away from this? His attitude was about managing his responses to situations instead of permitting. Imagine the weight of them controlling him, of commanding an empire in combat while simultaneously battling a terrible plague, and most people would crumble if they lost loved ones. That pressure turning sour or bitter, yet Marcus Aurelius, in spite of all of this, decided to be calm and reasonable, and kept his attention on the here and now. Didn't complain about the difficulties he approached them with a clear head. This mentality is a steady hand. It earns respect for a man not only by women, but by everyone who comes into contact with him. A man with great values assumes responsibilities for his situation and searches for strategies to get over them. Whining is a scream for approval and attention, and it indicates a lack of emotional regulation. Women admire resilient men, nor those who focus only on the bad or show sympathy. Marcus realized that the outside world is frequently outside of our control, but how we operate in our inner world, we have the option to choose to respond. Always maintain control, quit whining, and begin acting. The more you concentrate on, the more solutions rather than issues you will gain. Respect from a man who gripes is stating that I am unable to manage this high value man says, I'll take care of this. A change of perspective is crucial. Complaining simply makes things worse. You accept accountability and face your obstacles and observe how you are respected. From women and those in your immediate vicinity, lack of ambition and laziness increases indolence and lack of drive. Let's discuss something that the majority of males ignore, but it is utterly harmful to your ideal of indolence. An absence of a man is a man if he lacks ambition. He's a ship without a compass, without direction, floating aimlessly through life. A man like him doesn't inspire respect. He cultivates indifference. A highly esteemed individual on the year is motivated and aware of what he desires, and he puts forth great effort to attain the complacency and laziness of a poison to the character of a man if you're failing to aim for something more. Are you even treating ladies the same way everyone else? Others are able to detect when a man lacks ambition. It lacks beauty, is feeble, and uninspiring. Let's examine the Alexander the Great's life at the age of 20. He inherited the throne at the age of Macedonia, although he failed to establish himself in his new position or use the simple route. Instead, Alexander was among the most aspirational historical visions in which he overcame the extending his authority throughout the Persian Empire, Egypt, Greece, and all the way to India before he passed away at the age of 32. Didn't accept mediocrity. Instead, he pursued excellence with an unwavering determination that few men throughout history can ever imagine. When he encountered enormous obstacles, included troops who are rebellious, and Alexander pressed for political tension. He forced himself and his guys to move forward. Boundaries that others would never risk crossing. Why? As he recognized the importance of desire. He didn't merely want to have power, was to leave a legacy, and he was aware of to achieve greatness, one must work tirelessly and discipline, which is a high-level value man works with intention, rather than merely coasting in life when you don't have. With ambition, you lead a life of inertia. You turn into a man who barely survives, is sufficient to get through the day you settle for mediocrity and you quit once you're at ease. Growing ladies are repulsed by this. They desire a man who is consistently aiming for greater things. They desire a man who challenges others and pushes boundaries, the individual who aims to improve their life at all costs. A guy who lacks ambition is just occupying space that you don't need to flawless, but you have to keep trying. In the direction of something bigger than yourself, warrior, ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing now to advance? Now, to maximize the quality of tomorrow, prosperous guys throughout history, starting with Alexander Marcus Aurelius, didn't receive the great by taking a seat back and waiting for life to provide them with a respite. They took daily, unrelenting action. Women admire motivated men who are always moving and who doesn't. If mediocrity is what you want, then demand that regard. Then you must consider whether you are truly aiming for something bigger, or are you just existing possessiveness and jealousy? Possession and jealousy. Let's examine one of the most harmful actions that will completely ruin the regard and worth of man in the sight of women's possessiveness and jealousy. These feelings are a result of dread and insecurity. They originate from a man's incapacity to must have faith in himself, his spouse, and the surrounded by a man who is continuously an envious man lacks self-control. Despite his feelings, he is a man who recognizes the world from a perspective of scarcity, assuming that if someone or anything is removed, he will have what nothing like this is the attitude of a jealousy of high-value men. And possessiveness just reveals vulnerability and a lack of self-confidence. Pause to think about it. Do you trust yourself? Think you possess the qualities necessary to be the sort of guy who doesn't mind losing a woman if your sense of value is dependent on someone else's behavior or focus? You're surrendering your authority, are letting fear rule you, and that's the most ugly thing about a women don't desire a guy, but men can possess them. Who wants a relationship but is scared of losing them? A man who believes in his own value and who grants them autonomy to be themselves, that the value of freedom is not diminished. The Stoics' relationship is strengthened by it. Realize that genuine power originates from epicus, another Stoic, in self-control. According to a philosopher, freedom is the only a worthy life objective is attained by ignoring things that are outside of our life, as a control warrior is a struggle we must endure. Every decision we make every day defines who we are. No one else can give you respect. Starts and finishes with each of your habits. We have discussed today is a chance to make a choice when you give up actions that make you weaker. Respect isn't something you just get. Ask for internal strength. Are you prepared to leave the past? You need to take charge of everything. To live as a high value of who you are, man means putting advancement ahead of comfort. Respecting oneself over taking short routes is the path of a real warrior, one who demands respect without making any demands. If you're willing to push yourself to conquer every behavior that can prevent you from drop a challenge that was accepted in the comments, allow others to view your dedication, and whether you wish to continue this growing trajectory, such as subscribing, and to avoid this, ring the notification bell. Omit a step,